Hello and welcome to another edition of Fide's podcast. My name is Jerry Serino and I'm your host, and I'm here with talent on loan from Rush. We need fighters, and there are a lot of really great fighters out there. The one thing about social media, there's a lot that I don't like, but there's also a lot that I do like, and that social media has given a voice to so many people who don't have a show on Fox or CNN or anything like that. Anyone could go and speak their mind and fight for the things that they believe in, and specifically fight for the things that they believe in that are under attack today. And so I love finding warriors, soldiers, and honestly, I think that the best warriors today are women, because they are typically moms and they're fighting for their kids. And one of those warriors that I found online is Breana, and she is you could actually find her on social media at fight for faith and freedom. Sorry, I mumbled that. At fight for faith and freedom, and she's here to talk about her life, what she's doing, and what she's passionate about. Brianna, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and like I said, I really love giving a voice to people who are doing really great work, like someone like you. Again, you don't have a show on Fox or anything like that, but you're out there fighting because you're obviously passionate.
Yeah.
So when I had messaged you about coming on and talking about some things, you had specifically asked me. You said, "Is your show pro-life?" And that was an easy
Yes.
answer. Anyone listening knows the answer to that one. And I
Mhm.
said I am. And that was important to you. So tell me why that was important to you.
I'm a follower of Christ, so for one, I think that's, just from a biblical standpoint is extremely important to all of us. Children from conception are a child of God. But me myself, I was, in a situation where I found myself pregnant at 18 and completely broke. It was a really, really bad situation and relationship. That I left and was a single mom by the time he was a couple months old. So I've lived through it, and I love nothing more than to support and help, women that are going through the same things that I went through. And I just see this huge push in society to push women towards careers and just making abortions look like they're this incredible blessing. And we know that that is just a lie from, Satan himself. And that you truly can have it all. You can have an amazing family and children
Mhm.
and career and have all of those things. And society making children seem like a burden is just so far away from the truth. So it's just something that is really, really near and dear to my heart. My son that I had when I had just turned 19, he's 14 now. So
Mhm.
I've got a teenager of my own now. And I can imagine, you know, having taken that route and not having this life without him.
Right. And so, just curious if whatever you're willing to share, were you pressured to do something different by anybody? You don't have to give names or anything, but what was the environment like for you? Did you have support?
So I actually had support from my parents, just as far as me keeping him. There was never any even discussion of if I was going to. It was just amazement. I wasn't supposed to be able to have babies.
Hmm.
So my whole family was very shocked
Yeah.
that I could even get pregnant. So he's a little miracle. But there was some pressure from other sources. But for the most part, I would say everybody was pretty supportive of. They were shocked, but pretty supportive of me having him.
Well, that's good. I mean, because that
Yeah,
doesn't always happen,
no,
and it's you should be obviously, and I'm sure are grateful for the people that supported you,
yeah,
and it's always interesting to me because your situation is one of the specific situations that are often given for why we need it, why we
yeah,
need abortion, right? As though you're so incapable. Women,
hmm,
especially young women, are so incapable
yeah,
of doing anything challenging or having a challenge in their life, that
yeah,
the only solution to you potentially meeting your potential is to kill your baby.
yeah,
And you're living proof. I don't know, and then how much money you have in the bank or any of that stuff, but you're not living under a bridge, and you seem pretty happy to me
Yeah.
with your 14-year-old, right?
Yeah, no, we're doing extremely well. My husband and I have been together. I met my husband when I was a single mom. He was one at the time. So I met him when Noah was one, and we've been together since. We went on to have two more kids of our own. We're a full-time stay-at-home family. We're entrepreneurs. We put our kids through private Christian school, and really just raised them to love the Lord and love his life and cherish freedom and all the things that you see me posting about. I am
Hmm.
very candid with my kids and raise them, to know the truth and God's word and the Constitution and what this country was founded on.
Hmm.
But we are definitely not struggling, and I know that that is the picture that they try to paint to, whether it was a young mom or a mom in a bad situation. Like for me, it was a very, very abusive situation. He had tried to kill me at one point. So they very much so push that you can't get out of that. You're always going to be bogged down, and this is a burden or whatever it might be. And it's so, so, so far from the truth. So I really try to show people that it's a complete lie and you can really persevere and push through it and just trust in the Lord and keep going and honor him and obey him. And the first thing would be absolutely keeping his child.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, this is America, and the sky's the limit here.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a great story, and whether you're 18 or you're single or any of
Yep.
that, most people, either they, their parents, or their grandparents, or somewhere down the line, when we had a baby at a time where they didn't have any money. That was
Right.
my parents. I was born, they had nothing,
Yeah.
and it took time to get there. I mean,
Hmm.
so everybody's in that situation. The solution
Yeah.
is not abortion, right? We know that.
No.
So you are very focused on your kids and
Yes.
and what's going on in the schools. I don't know if it has impacted your schools. You said you send your kids to, and that's, you're shaking your head. If you're watching, you see Brianna shaking her head. No, that it's not happening. And what are you would you, and if not, and I think I know the answer, would you send your kids to many public schools? And if not, why not?
I talk about public school a lot. So, I actually fought tooth and nail through family court to have my oldest that I share custody with, taken out of public school because of how bad it is, especially here in California. God was good as he always is, and we got him into a private Christian junior high and high school. And then my husband and I, we are aligned with all of our values and beliefs and everything. So our two kids together go to a private Christian school as well. And the stuff that is coming out of the public school system, and this is a big passion of mine, is parents think they need to be rich and have so much money to homeschool, and to pull their kids out of the public school system. And that's just not the truth. Like, it is such a lie, and it is just another stigma. And people don't realize that most states end up having to pay the parents, and sure, that's not going to cover the whole cost of everything. But they do need to give you some money for your curriculum and things like that at home. And it doesn't need to look like what the classroom looks like. When you
Mhm.
homeschool, it really only takes a couple hours a day because it's one-on-one parent, or it's one-on-one teaching. And maybe if you have a couple kids, it's not one teacher in a class of 30 people or 30
Mhm.
students. Your kids aren't being indoctrinated in stuff that you don't believe in being shoved down their throats. So I remember when my son was when he was in public school, I think it was about fourth grade. We got him out at sixth. He had come home and told me, "Mom, they want me to submit this project on what ape I am descended from." And I don't believe in evolution. We believe in creation and the Bible. And my head went, like, excuse me? You're not turning that in. No, I said, we will do a project on you descending from Adam and from Noah.
Mhm.
But you didn't descend from an ape. And, he was like, well, you're going to have to talk to my teacher. I'm like, let's set that up. So I emailed the teacher. She got on Zoom with me, and she had told me herself that she's a believer and she doesn't like this curriculum. And that she absolutely had no idea that our family felt that way and didn't want him participating in that. And completely, was like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to give him an F or anything. But imagine if he was in, first of all, the pressure that the public school teachers are under.
Mhm.
Second, imagine if that was a teacher that was more woke and liberal and leftist and tried to shove that down his throat, where she was very respectful and like minded and being forced to teach something she didn't even believe. So
Mhm.
I've been able to experience both worlds where, we're in the public school. We saw all of that stuff. We saw what they were pushing, the sex ed stuff, even from a very young age. Kids being trans and all of that stuff at ages where I at that age knew nothing about sex or anything related to that. Third graders, to moving into a completely private Christian school, it's night and day where
Mhm.
your children are being taught at school the same way they're being taught at home. You're not seeing that indoctrination. And there's so many different alternatives. You don't need to have so much money to homeschool. Private school, sure, that's a
Mhm.
different story. But so many parents don't realize, and they underestimate themselves, and they think that because they might not, I don't have a college degree. Like,
Mhm.
I was a teen mom, like I went straight to work. So
Yeah.
I do not have a college degree, and we did homeschool for a couple years before we put them into private school for the younger two. And you don't need to be this super super smart educated teacher, to
Mhm.
teach your kids. You can learn with them. There are very affordable ways to do it, and you can fill it in the pockets of your day. And it's just so important because this is the next generation. This is our next generation. And we know that famous quote, like, all it takes is one generation to completely change the world. This is the future.
100%. Very, very well said. It is, you know, we are being, in a sense, attacked. You're seeing it, parents going to school board meetings and showing them that, hey, you are teaching critical race theory, or, look at these books that are horribly inappropriate for second
Yeah.
graders. Why do you think they're doing it? Is to me, it would be as simple as, look, teach math, teach
Right.
reading, phonics, teach science, teach that stuff. That's what our kids need to know. If you are into this other stuff, then keep it in your house.
Right.
Don't teach my kids. Why do you think that they have gone after our kids, and even have told kids, hey, listen, don't tell your parents about what we're doing?
Hmm.
We're hearing a ton about giving kids letting kids transition and telling them,
Yeah.
don't tell your parents. What do you think it is? So is there agenda? Why not just teach math and reading?
It's control. I think it's absolutely control. Being in California, we started to see this. I think COVID was a really big blessing in disguise. Honestly, God works in really mysterious ways, and we know that He'll use all things for good. So sure, COVID caused a lot of pain and issues for a lot of people. We saw people losing their jobs and schools closed and all of
Hmm.
that stuff, businesses shut down. But look at how many people it woke up.
Hmm.
Before COVID, California was already dealing with a lot of this. So vaccine mandates came into place in California, and that's where you had talked about moms. That's where like the mama bear came in and me just came out. And I was like, you're taking my children's medical rights away.
Hmm.
Where my kids can't go to school if I don't get them every single vaccine on the schedule that you're saying I need to. This is not okay. So we started fighting SB 277 back in 2015. In California, I don't know if you know this, but you can get an abortion at the age of 12 through your school, and they cannot tell your parents without your permission.
Hmm.
So California is, it's so progressive and it's so far left. It's so bad. But we've been dealing with it here for a while, and I just think a lot of it is control. And they are answering to the lobbyists at the end of the day. Pharma is pushing so much of this agenda. They're funding so much money. I've been at the Capitol, boots on the ground, fighting, lobbying, all of that stuff for mandates and stuff that we were fighting here in California. And I can tell you, we were the first. I had a state trooper, I think is who has jurisdiction there. I had one of them tell me that they had never ever seen what we had done before. We had shut down both the House and the Senate. We were so loud and packed that place so full that they literally could not speak and take a vote. So they had to call a recess. And that's
Mhm.
what we were trying to do. We had some assembly members and so forth working on the inside telling us what we could do because it was the last day of the final session. So basically, if they couldn't
Wow.
vote on it that night, that day, it would get pushed to the next session. So we bought ourselves some time essentially. So we were in there being as loud as possible, and we did. We shut down both the House and the Senate. Well, we thought we had been successful, and we're mama bears, and even dads were there too. We were fighting, and we were willing to sleep there and stay there as long as until the day was over. They ended up voting behind closed doors and had a closed session in the United States of America, and
Mhm.
passed that bill with all the opposition that was there. There was nobody there in support. It was all opposition. They passed that bill, and I was like, this is not about the people. This is not the people's house anymore. This has become about lobbyists and control. And I think that it's the same thing with, you see it with the vaccines, you see it with the
Mhm.
public school curriculum, you see it with critical race theory, you see it with this new woke, men can be women and women can be men, and like all of this stuff. They can confuse our children, they can control them later on in life. They make
Mhm.
them, the public school systems especially, they're really just, it's like they're trying to build these very dependent people
Mhm.
that can be employees and never really anything else. Like
Yeah.
they're not inspiring people to dream big, to become entrepreneurs, to go invent something, to go. It's very much so suppressed. You can't even ask questions in public school. Like you're yelled at now for daring to ask a question about something that is in the curriculum. So
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, it's all about control.
Yep. I agree wholeheartedly. I think these people on the left are elitists, and they also suffer from great pride, which we all suffer from.
Hmm.
But I think, I hope to believe that if we admit that we're
Yeah,
sinful, that we can be prideful, that we work to overcome it, they embrace it. And
yeah,
because I don't understand how they could look at, for example, the vaccine stuff and say, "Oh boy, maybe we were wrong. We shouldn't have done this." The evidence is out there everywhere. It doesn't
yeah.
work, and it looks to be very harmful to people who
Hmm.
had no risk. They don't admit it though. They
Yep,
just keep going with what they're going.
yep.
So you had mentioned, and I think it's on some of your posts that, so you and your husband are entrepreneurs. What kind of business are you in? Is that something you're willing or interested in sharing about what you do? And
Yeah, we're actually partnered with North America's largest online store. So it's just a giant store. We love it because we're partnered with a company that competes against these giant corporate conglomerates like um, Colgate Palmolive,
Mhm.
Unilever. We compete against Target, these big stores that have these woke agendas. And anywhere that I can vote with my dollars and help people vote with their dollars, like I am in. And being
Mhm.
able to be partnered with a company that does that and help other people switch as well. So it's literally just your household goods, your vitamins, your coffee, the stuff that you're buying from those stores without having to support those agendas. Like I remember the last time I walked into Target, there was just like giant pride stuff all over
Mhm.
in the kids section. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, this is not what is happening. Like it is so in our face everywhere. So
Yeah.
we've been partnered with them for 5 years. It's an incredible company. They're a 38-year-old company, debt free. And like I said, American made products. So 99.9% of their products are made in America. One exception is the mascara, and that's made in Italy, but
Yeah.
everything else is made right here, which is amazing because that just funnels right back into our economy, which is what we need. We need
We
more
want.
jobs here. Yeah.
And are you able to share the website, or any way that people can connect?
Yeah, if they go to my Facebook, my Instagram, they can
Okay.
click on the link in my bio and all of it's right there.
Okay, great. So if you're listening, or I'm sorry, if you're watching on the screen, you see Brianna's Instagram tag. handle there at fight the number 4 faith and freedom. And if you're listening, you heard me say it, so please check it out. Breana, you really do have a lot of really great posts,
Thank
and
you.
we need people that out there making those posts. And the business that you do is really awesome, because I was just looking at or reading something just today or the other day, about basically everywhere you go, these places are crazy. I
Hmm.
had to go get something at the store yesterday, and I was like, all right, I don't want to go to CVS, right? Because they just started doing the abortion pill. I was like,
Yep.
well, let me go to Walgreens. And then I realized, nope, they were on the list too for doing, it's difficult to find stuff. Now, we can't
It is.
completely avoid, right? Just not
Yep.
possible. But for a lot of things that you use on a regular basis, we should punish these places and go
Yep.
to where people are good and putting forward solid agendas. And
Yeah.
I would encourage you, if that's you, if you're someone like that thinking the same way, go check out Breana, at Fight for Faith and Freedom. At the very least, you'll be able to enjoy her posts, and maybe help, of course, her and her husband's business. So great
Thank
thing.
you.
Brianna, thanks so much. This was a great conversation. Again, I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything. Keep up the great work. I really appreciate you being here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. And thank all of you for listening to this episode of Fide's Podcast. Please check out all my podcasts and all the different podcast apps on YouTube, on Rumble, and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on rightamericamedia.com. So thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time.